You already know the feeling. You wake up, you have a plan, you tell yourself today is the day, but then nothing happens. The hours slip by. The plan just sits there. And by midnight, you're lying in bed asking yourself the same question you've been asking for months. Why can't I just do it? Not because you're lazy, not because you're stupid. You know what you want. You can see it. But something keeps pulling you back. Some invisible force, some wall you can't explain. Most people live their entire lives never figuring out what that wall is. But one boy, a broke, directionless 22-year-old from a small town in Ohio, accidentally stumbled onto the answer. Not in a book, not in a classroom, not from a therapist or a YouTube video. He found it by following a silent old man through the streets of Kyoto for 7 straight days. This is a story of Caleb Monroe, and if you stay until the end of this video, you'll understand something about yourself that most people never do. Caleb was not special. That's important to understand. He wasn't some gifted kid with a trust fund and a vision board. He was the guy who started things and never finished them. At 19, he launched a small online store, quit after 2 months. At 20, he enrolled in community college, dropped out before finals. At 21, he told everyone he was going to get in shape, learn to code, start a business, and move to a new city. He did none of those things. By 22, Caleb was sleeping on an air mattress in his cousin's apartment in Columbus, working shifts at a pizza place, watching other people his age post about promotions and new apartments and vacations, and every night he would open a blank notes app on his phone and stare at it. He had things to say, things he felt, but he never wrote a single word. He told himself he was waiting for the right moment. He told himself he needed more time. He told himself he'd start tomorrow. Then one random Tuesday, his cousin handed him an old backpack and said, "My company's sending me to Japan for a month. You're watching my place. Here, take this. Go somewhere." Inside the backpack was a one-way plane ticket to Kyoto. Caleb almost didn't go. If you've ever had everything you needed to move forward and still couldn't hit the like button, maybe someone out there needs to hear this today. Kyoto in late autumn is quiet in a way that American cities never are. Caleb arrived exhausted, jet-lagged, and already regretting the trip. He didn't speak Japanese. He had $40 and a translation app. He had no plan. He spent the first day sitting on a stone bench near the Fushimi Inari shrine, eating convenience store rice balls, feeling sorry for himself. That's when he noticed the old man. He was maybe 70, maybe older. It was hard to tell. He wore simple, dark clothing. He moved slowly, not because he was weak, but because he seemed to have absolutely no reason to rush, like every step was completely intentional. He stopped at a small stall and bought a single persimmon fruit. He examined it for almost a full minute before paying. Caleb watched him and thought, who takes that long to buy a piece of fruit? The old man noticed Caleb staring. He didn't smile, didn't wave, he simply looked at him directly, calmly, for one long second. Then he walked away. Caleb felt something strange, like the look meant something he couldn't translate. He followed, not because he had a plan, just because he had nothing else to do. The old man walked for nearly an hour, through market streets, up stone stairs, along a narrow river. Caleb kept his distance, feeling slightly ridiculous. Finally, the old man stopped at a small wooden workshop tucked between 2 buildings. A sign above the door had Japanese characters Caleb couldn't read. He pulled out his phone, aimed the camera at the sign. The translation came back. Swords repaired, swords made, nothing else. The old man went inside. Caleb stood outside for 10 minutes. Then curiosity pushed him through the door. The workshop was small and warm. It smelled like metal and wood smoke. The old man was already sitting at a low table. In front of him, a single sword. Not sharp, not polished. In fact, it was broken. The blade snapped clean in half. The old man picked up one piece, turned it slowly under a small lamp, said nothing. Caleb pointed at the broken sword and said quietly, "Can it be fixed?" The old man looked up. In slow, careful English, he said just 3 words, "Depends on you." Then he turned back to the sword. Caleb had no idea what that meant, but he came back the next day, and the day after that. Over the next 4 days, Caleb arrived at the workshop every morning and sat across from the old man whose name he eventually learned was Hiroshi. Hiroshi never explained what he was doing, he just worked. Day 2, Hiroshi spent 6 hours doing nothing but cleaning one piece of the broken blade. 6 hours on one piece. Caleb kept checking his phone, kept shifting in his seat. At one point he said, "Don't you want to actually fix it?" Hiroshi paused, looked at him. "I am fixing it." Day 3, Hiroshi began heating metal, shaping it. The sound of the hammer filled the small room over and over. Each strike looked identical to Caleb, pointless, repetitive. Caleb said, "How do you know when to stop hammering?" Hiroshi kept his eyes on the metal. Day 4, Caleb arrived to find Hiroshi sitting completely still, not working, just sitting. Caleb waited an hour, nothing. Finally he said, "Why aren't you working?" "I am working." "You're not doing anything." Hiroshi looked at him with something that wasn't quite a smile. "You only count work when your hands are moving." Caleb didn't sleep well. Day 5, something shifted. Hiroshi handed Caleb a rough piece of iron and a small hammer. "Hit it." Caleb hit it, hard, fast. Hiroshi watched. Again. Caleb hit it again. Hiroshi shook his head slowly. "You are fighting it." "I'm hitting it. That's what you do with a hammer." "No." Hiroshi took the hammer. One strike, quiet, precise, deliberate. A perfect small dent exactly placed. "You're not trying to destroy it. You're trying to reveal it." That evening, Caleb called his cousin back in Columbus. His cousin picked up laughing. "Dude, you're still in Japan? What are you doing over there?" "I don't know." "You don't know? Caleb, come on, man. You've been gone a week. You need to come back. I need you watching the apartment. And the pizza place called, by the way. They said don't bother coming back if you miss another week." Caleb hung up. He sat on the steps outside the workshop in the cold night air, and everything hit him at once. He was 22. He had no job now, no savings, no real plan. He'd spent a week sitting in an old man's workshop watching someone fix a sword. And what did he have to show for it? He pulled out his phone, opened that blank notes app, the one he'd been staring at for 2 years, still empty. He thought about every time he told himself he'd start writing, every time he'd said tomorrow, every plan that dissolved before it could become real. He had so many things he wanted to build, wanted to say, wanted to become. But the years were moving, and he was standing still. He put his face in his hands. "I don't know how to start," he said out loud to no one. A voice behind him said quietly, "Yes, you do." He turned around. Hiroshi was standing in the doorway. He'd heard everything. "Come back tomorrow," Hiroshi said. "Why?" "Because the sword is finished." The next morning, day 7, Caleb arrived at the workshop. On the table sat the sword, whole, restored, polished to a mirror shine. It was extraordinary. Looking at it, you'd never know it had been broken. Caleb stared at it for a long time. Then, Hiroshi placed something else on the table beside it. The original broken pieces, saved from the very first day. "Look at both," Hiroshi said. Caleb looked. The broken pieces, the finished sword. "The sword was broken when you arrived," Hiroshi said. "Every day, I did only one thing, not the whole sword. One thing." He let that sit. On day 1, I only cleaned. Day 2, I only studied the metal. Day 3, I only shaped. I did not rush to the end. I did not try to do everything. I only ever did the next thing. Caleb felt something tighten in his chest. "The sword did not become whole because I was talented," Hiroshi continued. "It became whole because I never asked it to be whole before it was ready. I only asked it to be a little more than it was the day before." Silence. Then Hiroshi looked directly at Caleb. "You have been waiting to become the finished sword, but you keep refusing to be the broken piece on the table." Caleb didn't speak. "You cannot begin from the middle. You cannot." He picked up the broken pieces and placed them gently in Caleb's hands. "Take these so you don't forget where things start." Caleb flew back to Columbus 3 days later. He didn't have a new job yet. He didn't have a business plan or a perfectly organized life. But on the plane, somewhere over the Pacific Ocean, he opened that blank notes app and he wrote one sentence. Just one. It was clumsy. It wasn't perfect. He almost deleted it, but he didn't. The next morning, he wrote another sentence. The day after that, a paragraph. He didn't call it a writing career. He didn't tell anyone what he was doing. He just did the next thing, then the next thing, then the next. 6 months later, he had written enough to fill a small blog. He launched it quietly on a free website. 14 people read the first post. He wrote another one anyway, then another. 18 months after Kyoto, Caleb Monroe had over 60,000 regular readers. He wasn't an overnight success. He wasn't a prodigy. He was just a guy who finally stopped waiting for the sword to fix itself. The 2 broken pieces of iron from Hiroshi's workshop sat on his desk every single day. He never forgot where things start. You already know the feeling. You wake up, you have a plan. But here's what Caleb learned, and what most people never do. The plan was never the problem. The start was never the problem. You were never the problem. You were just asking a broken sword to be whole before you'd done a single day of work on it. The finished version of you, that person you see when you close your eyes, they're real. They exist. I promise you that. But they are built the same way Hiroshi built that sword. One day, one thing, one honest strike of the hammer. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when the timing is perfect. Today, from exactly where you are. The broken pieces aren't your failure. They're your starting point. Think about the one thing you've been putting off, the thing you keep saying you'll start when the time is right. Drop it in the comments. Just one word, one sentence, whatever it is. Because maybe someone else is waiting to hear that. Someone out there is finally picking up the hammer. If this story hits something in you today, like this video. Not for me, for the next person who needs to find it. And if you want more stories like this one, subscribe. We tell one story at a time. We do one thing at a time, just like Hiroshi taught us.